Excellent. Well, again, welcome in everybody. Let's get started here. So for those of you in our audience, you are joining us today for the Capstone Showcase presentations for our graduating seniors here in the software development program here at Green River. So thanks again for joining us and being here. Oh. Awesome. All right. So with that, what we're going to do today is have each team come up and present the project that they've been working on over the previous 2 quarters. And we will just kind of get updates from each team. And then everyone who's joining us here, whether they're in person or watching the YouTube stream, is going to be able to respond by asking any comments or questions or items like that. So some quick introductions. My name is Tyler Schrock. I'm one of the software development instructors here. And beside me is Ken Hang. He's helping kind of also co-host this event tonight. Other instructors, some of them are joining us tonight. Tina Ostrander, Josh Archer, Susan Euland, and Andy Orr, all part of the software development program here at Green River. Here at Green River, we have a software development program, and we tonight are seeing our cohorts number 12 and 13 graduating from our program. This program has been going since 2014. Within our 2 groups tonight, we have about 50 graduates, and many of the students are actually working full-time and may not be joining us tonight, but we wish them well, even though they may not be presenting a project. They are hard at work in industry already doing software development. So an interesting statistic that we came across, 0.5% of people in the world know how to code. All the students that are presenting this evening are amongst those people. So it's a very rare skill set. It takes quite a bit of dedication and quite a bit of work to get all those things going and working. And what you're going to see tonight is a wide variety of projects that demonstrate students' abilities in order to build and create working software for real individuals out in the world. Okay, so these capstone projects that you're going to see tonight, all of them are working with the client. So they have found an organization, a person, a small business, a startup, somebody out there that has a specific need. And they've been working with this client for about the past 6 months. So beginning in June and coming all the way until now, roughly 6 months worth of work, working in 2-week development cycles. So every 2 weeks, they present progress, they show off what their software can do, and then present that to the client, and then kind of learn and grow and build as they go. These teams have worked independently. So although Ken and myself have been the instructors in this class, we just provide kind of a little bit of guidance here and there. And guidance also comes from the clients and mentors and other folks that know a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes in those projects. All right, so what we're going to ask, again, our format once again is just a brief presentation from each team. Again, they're trying to summarize about 6 months of work with the clients that they've been working with. And then after each team presents, we're going to do some Q&A as well. So we do have a full schedule tonight. So without further ado, we're going to get going with our teams here. So again, we want to thank you so much for being a part of this. As you do have any questions, comments, items like that, feel free to drop that in the chat. We'll be monitoring those as teams present. And with that, we will actually get ready to go and welcome in our first team. So here in just a moment, we'll welcome the Devmasters team to take on the screen share and begin our presentations for the night.
Hello. Oops. I am Philip Ball, one part of Devmasters, the other parts being Jacob Donaldson, Aubrey Davies, Cesar Escalona, and David Boone. During this presentation, we'll be showing you the 2 projects we worked on during the capstone. Now to start us off with the first project with Jake.
Hi. So our first client was 629 Racing. And for anyone who doesn't know, just a quick rundown. They are a family-run racing company, and they came to us with a bit of a problem. So they came to us mainly asking for us to help get their brand known and out on the web. And being a company, they were looking to promote themselves. So for example, they have merchandise that they would like to sell and they wanted a place to sell that merchandise. And also they're very active in the community and they were interested in doing community outreach events and helping get people interested in motorsports. Especially now during COVID, motorsports is kind of on the decline because it's just so expensive and there's nowhere to really do it. So they're very quite interested in having a way for them to spread their message and get themselves heard and foster and run local community outreach. With that, I will be passing it over to David to talk a little bit how we solved this problem.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, so going off what he was saying, there was like around 2 themes that we noticed that could provide a potential solution. One being custom build using, as you can see, HTML, CSS, Java, or Spring. We first tried to go with that solution for around a week, but we saw another solution, the buy and customize, and the website that offered that was Squarespace. Buy and customize it offers like a template you can start from, and then it gives you kind of like you're tied to a certain framework, but it gives you a good thing to go with. And yeah, we were able to offer them like a store, get their brand out there, and basically hit all the 6 points that was talked about. And then we're going to go into a little demo. Thank you, Philip. Yeah, this is what we passed on to 629. As you can see, they're a family of 3. This carousel here, it hits on all 6 points. They wanted to get their schedule, sponsors, contact out there, merch as well. One of the big points they wanted to be able to do was sell the merchandise. And Squarespace offers, like, one of their main points was e-commerce website. And yeah, you can go to checkout, you can add your info. But at this point, we only had filler content, so we weren't able to get any pictures. But Philip's going to demonstrate adding items to a cart and checking out. Cool. Yep. And I will be passing off to Caesar, and he's going to go over our next client, which is Seattle Scenes.
Thanks, David. Hello, everyone. So our second client, Evan Kinsel, wanted a blog site that covered various topics in the greater Seattle area. This is when Seattle Scenes was created. So the blog topics consisted of local restaurants, food reviews, sporting events, music activities, and other smaller local events. His vision was to provide people with information, reviews, pictures, and videos of things happening around Seattle. Seattle Scenes could also be a place for people to connect with each other and also check out different activities. We had many wins during this project, but we also encountered some challenges. So next, I'll pass it off to Aubrey to give you more information on that.
Thanks, Caesar. So due to time constraints and also convenience, we decided to build Evan's website using Squarespace. But one of the main issues we ran into is that some of the features Evan was asking for weren't like, readily available on Squarespace. But after doing some messing around and some research, we figured out that we can edit many things about the Squarespace webpage using custom code injection, mainly through CSS styling sheets. And so Philip would like to demo the webpage. This is what the end result looks like. Evan wanted like a main homepage with a bunch of different feature topics. These are all filler things that he hasn't filled in yet, but he wanted something that looked pretty sleek but simple. So it's got blogs that cover a bunch of different topics, but it's also got dedicated pages for each type of topic, like music or food or other things. So each page features one main topic, and then all the rest as you go further down the page, as you can see. it's also got an event calendar, which has a similar layout, with a calendar at the top of the page showing all the events you can look forward to, and more information about all the events that are upcoming within the next month or so. And then of course the website's also got like standard about and contact pages, but yeah, our client was looking for something visually simple but pretty sleek, and he was pretty impressed with what we delivered. Yeah, so I'm gonna now pass it on to Philip.
Thank you, Aubrey, and thank you all for watching. Thank you, Ken and Tyler, for being you. And thank you to our clients 629 Racing and Evan Kinsel for these 2 opportunities. If you have any questions or feedback, we'd love to hear it.
All right, team, thanks so much. Thanks for starting us off tonight. Any questions from here in the room?
When you guys like transition to working with Seattle Lights, I believe, how many what was the time frame of you guys working on that project after you switched projects?
We spent the first 7 sprints, so each sprint is the 2-week period on the 629 website working with them, and then the last 3 sprints with Evan.
Yeah, thanks. We'll let the YouTube live stream catch up here a little bit. We'll see if we can solicit any questions from there. I'll just raise a question from your team. What do you think was your biggest challenge that you overcame during your project, working with 2 different clients, both looking for a website?
I think, David, you'd be really great at explaining how we started with coding from scratch and then moving on to Squarespace.
Yeah, one of the biggest concerns with our first client was their store, kind of being that it was going to require a good amount of security, and we haven't really built like a full end front end and back end store. So we were looking if there was any like potential solutions for that. And Squarespace, one of its main selling points was as an e-commerce store. So like that was kind of our solution to that challenge, and yeah, it works perfectly fine, and I believe that they were really pleased. So
great. We've got one question out from YouTube here. Were you working on both sites at the same time, or were these projects staggered?
I can answer that. Both these projects were staggered, so we worked on 629 first. And then we had, I believe, there was sort of a 1-week transition before we moved on to Evan's site. So I believe there was a little bit of overlap in that 1-week period, but other than that, they have remained fairly separate.
Thanks, team. And one last brief question. We have Tina Ostrander, one of our instructors in the program. She has a quick question from here on Zoom.
Hey gang, good job. Both sites look beautiful. My question is, there's still a lot of boilerplate in the websites and non-pictures, and I'm wondering what the plan is moving forward when the client plans on actually making these things go live, and if it's been difficult for you working with the clients if you didn't have real content.
So the pictures and like text boilerplate, to make sure that they had the ability to change that really easily, is we made really detailed documentation showing step by step on how they would update those themselves, and that way they can easier maintain it themselves without our help.
Yes, because at the time when we were delivering the sites, they weren't quite there with the content. They didn't quite have the content for us. So we went along with creating the documentation where basically said, well, we can teach you how to maintain your site. And when you're ready, feel free you can go ahead and add them yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Team, again, thanks so much for your presentation tonight. You're one of only a couple who was able to accomplish 2 full projects during this 6-month process. So again, congratulations on completing both of those, and thanks for all your hard work there. All right, so next up on our schedule, we're going to hand it over to Team Rad. So Team Rad, when you're ready, the screen is yours.
All right, just a moment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tyler. All right. Hello, good evening, everyone. We are Team Brad. For our custom project, we actually partnered up with the Green River Dev team to create a development concept of a selective admissions web app for the select admissions programs here at Green River. So our team is made up of myself, Ryan Rivera, Dana Clemmer, and Daly Howard. So, does your email inbox ever look like this? Managing so many emails, you feel like your inbox could burst. Imagine every quarter having to process as many as 600 email applications, each with 7 attached documents. That's roughly 4,200 documents that need to be tracked, reviewed, and have feedback sent back. Now imagine you have to do it manually by hand in your inbox. For each program, that could be hundreds of hours of work annually. This is the challenge many selective admissions programs here at Green River have to deal with. This brings us to our first client, Natural Resources, who first brought up this issue, which Dana will elaborate on.
Thanks, Elisa. So our project journey officially began last year with us seeing the need in the Natural Resources program for a service to simplify and move their application process online. So we built a prototype of a website where students would be able to fill out an application to the program, and program managers would be able to view and manage applications sent in. Later on, we explored third-party form building tools as a more practical solution than us building a product completely from scratch. But after exploring that route a bit, we felt that we wanted more creative freedom to build a solution ourselves without the limitations of working through a third-party tool. We then shifted gears and started thinking about expanding the scope from just building a product for the Natural Resources program to creating one for all Green River selective admissions programs. And from there, we were able to meet with the Green River development team to present our product idea, which was approved, and they took on client and mentor roles to help us through the product creation. And with that, I'll pass it over to Daly to go over our product vision.
Thank you, Dana. After meeting with the development team, we had to change our original product vision to accommodate the increase in our product's scope. Our revised vision entails that this product can be used by any of the GRC program managers who require a separate admissions process. These programs primarily operate off an email and paper-based application system, unlike our product that can make the process more intuitive, streamlined, and efficient for both the students and faculty. With the development team as our mentors, we focused on using the technologies they've used for their own GRC projects. This presented us with some challenges, though, as we had to learn new technologies we had little to no experience with. Nevertheless, by walking through tutorials, having team discussions, and reaching out to the development team for help, we were able to learn how to implement these technologies and resolve these challenges. Next, Ryan will give you an inside look into our final product.
Thanks, Daly. We'll go ahead with a quick demo. So our project is actually 2 projects. We have a student side and a employee side. So we'll start with the student dashboard. From this dashboard, all students will be able to manage all in progress and submitted applications, as well as monitor any activity on those applications. But we don't have any applications right now, so let's go ahead and create one. So from the select screen, we can choose our program and any degrees within that program that we're interested in, and we can start a new application. Any on-file information will be pre-filled into the application, and then all the other fields will be up to the student. We'll go ahead and quickly fill one out. So we're going to upload our transcripts, our essay, our references. We're going to add a personal statement and our degree audit. So now that the application is fully completed, we can either save and return, or we can delete it, or we can submit it, which is what we're going to do. And now, as you can see, we've submitted a application for the forestry degree that's awaiting review, and it's pending. So now we would wait for a employee to review it. So we'll go over to the employee side of the application. So this is the employee dashboard. From here, the employees will be able to manage all the applications for their degree program. So you can see natural resources. We have forestry degrees. So let's see that latest application that just came in, and we're going to go ahead and review it. So when we review at a glance, we can see all of the information right away, and then we can download the attachments, review the documentation. And if we feel that the application is good and we want to update its status, we can leave a review. So we're going to go ahead and approve this application. We'll say that it looks good. And we're going to set it to accepted, and we'll submit. And now this application, it has a review that says it looks good. The application status has been updated. And now the student, when they log in, they'll see that their application status has been updated. It's been accepted. And now, and then they can see the comment over here. So as you can see, this is a very straightforward, concise, and organized process. And we feel it could be a big improvement over the current system. So we're going to go back over to our slides. So far, what have we accomplished? Well, in the beginning, we set off to solve a problem with the current inefficient selective admissions process. Along the way, we learned many new technologies and engineering principles. And as a result, we were able to deliver a functional prototype that simplifies the application process. Our clients were pleased with our solution and have taken ownership of the project. They say there's a lot of interest from the college in its potential as well. But they've said we've given them a lot to work with and a great reference for comparing buy versus build in an in-house solution should they choose to continue. Thank you so much for being here with us. Before we take any feedback, we would like to take a moment to thank our amazing clients at Green River College, the natural resources team for being our initial clients and working closely with us to shape the vision for the project, and the information technology department and software development team for taking a chance on us and offering up so much of their time being our mentors. We learned so much through this process, and we are very grateful that we had the opportunity. With that said, we would love to hear any questions or comments. Thank you.
Team, thanks so much. I'll open it up to anybody in the room here. Does anybody have a question for this team?
I'm curious when it'll be launched on the actual, for the actual use of the students. I don't know if I missed that part.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Oh, I can repeat it with a mic here. Yeah. Question was, is there a projected launch date for the application?
So at this time, there's no launch date. It's the project. It's been taken over by the software development team, but it will be continued at their discretion and however they want to implement it. So at this time, they're not obligating themselves to making this feature live yet.
We could certainly share behind the scenes. There's lots of demand for it, though. Yeah.
Thank you. What was it like working with the Green River Dev team? That feels like a lot closer to home than most of our clients.
Ryan, if you don't mind me stepping in here. Working with the development team was actually probably the most invaluable aspect of our project. We certainly did not expect to get mentors originally for this project. We sort of thought, we'd have that just client and developer relationship. But when the dev team offered to mentor us, we didn't want to pass up pass up the opportunity. So we met with them week after week, and sometimes even more frequently, sending emails back and forth. And they really opened our eyes to different technologies as well as different approaches to our project. So it was a very hands-on approach, and really gave us some real life working experience here. So very, very good opportunity.
All right, thanks, team. One last question from my side of things. If I can hear from each team member, which new tool did you enjoy working with the most? I know there's quite a few new things learned in this project. Which new tool did each of you enjoy the most?
Yes, I'll go first. I think the most impressive piece and the biggest part of it was Blazor, getting to learn that new framework, especially since it's relatively new. It was great being able to implement it into our project and having the Green River dev team give us the go on being able to use it.
I'm going to second that with Elisa. Blazor, so we use Blazor Server, not Blazor WebAssembly. There's two versions of Blazor. One is more akin to a front-end development or front-end framework like React. The other one exists on the server and requires a constant connection, and that's the one we used. But the components, building components and being able to nest them and using event callbacks and whatnot, it was cool. That's the only way I could wrap it up. So
I would like to third on the Blazor server. It was a great opportunity to learn. Mind you, the development team actually didn't have too much experience with it. So it was also sort of a learning opportunity for them as well, which was really great to have. But if I'm going to say something aside from Blazor, we originally started our project out using GitLab instead of GitHub, which was different for our entire team in terms of managing the project and where our code was going to reside. And they thankfully helped us get started in there and set up our whole project onto GitLab. So that was really great.
Yeah, I mean, same as my teammates. Blazor was really neat to learn. Learning a new front-end framework had a lot of similarities, like with React. Yeah, brought a lot of new learning challenges, but it was a neat framework to learn.
I just want to say really great job, guys. It's really beautiful for the big tech stack that you guys had to work through. So well done. Really great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wanted to echo that from our side as well. Again, yeah, great work on taking on so many new challenges with new languages and being able to successfully build something along with those things. A huge accomplishment. And again, congratulations for all your hard work and for crossing the finish line with this project. All right, we're going to continue down and work with our next group here. So next up is KBM 2.0. KBM 2.0, when you're ready, you can go ahead and begin your presentation.
Fire up the camera. Sorry.
All right. Hello, y'all. We are Team KBM 2.0, and our project is a blog site called The Culture. The team consists of me, Ben, George, and Mark. Me being as the developer or assigned the developer role. Mark also being the developer, Ben as the Scrum Master, and George as the project manager. Also, we would like to give a big special thanks to Hunter for also assisting us. Our client, her name is Nisa. Nisa is a traveler, tech lawyer, writer, mentor, and a travel expert. For our client's request, she had a very specific vision for her blog site and have hopes to use the site to share to her audience and her travel to share her to her audience about her travel experiences and anything travel related, and as an expert on the subject. And I would like to give it to Mark to talk about our project specs.
All right, so what about the project? And also a little bit Nisa. So Nisa, she does have an old site that's currently live at the moment. We were tasked with creating a new site from scratch. So that's essentially our task. Like her current site, we are using WordPress to build the new site. And the reason that we're using WordPress is for two main reasons. One has a lot of like base elements that we can use to help build the site, all the different sections and elements and items that would go into building the site. And then from that, we can like style those to look however the client would like it to be. And another big appeal to WordPress is that it is highly customizable to the client, to a client, even without a lot of coding knowledge. So that puts a lot of power into the hands of the client, and is one of the very cool things about WordPress. So she did give us a wireframe, which is essentially a visual blueprint for us to design a website based on. So so a lot of the design was already made. All we had to do was focus on actually implementing everything. So in regards to the old site, we have brought over a lot of the old assets from the old site, such as images and posts. And part of our job was to create a new site that will be able to use content from those old posts. Another major problem with the current site that she currently has live is that a lot of the plugins that were used on the site, a lot of them are deprecated, meaning that they are no longer supported. So this effectively makes it so that a lot of the functionality of the site is no longer working, and it's very buggy, really messy to work with, and even like trying to fix it, makes it very hard to track down where it's breaking specifically. So that's also a big factor into why she opted to building a new site completely from scratch. And with that, I'll pass it off to George.
All right, so how did we do it? So WordPress sites require a theme to start creating a website. You kind of need one to build a website there. So we did try many themes, such as the previous site's theme. But the issue with the previous site's theme was that it was just too old and not being maintained still. So then we looked into WordPress's default theme, third-party theme, and even hand-making one. But the problem with these is that they didn't provide enough functionality. They took too much time to get things pixel perfect, like Nisa wants on her wireframe, and they were too dependent on custom CSS, which brings in issues with site being responsive. But then, thanks to one of our wonderful mentors, we were able to find Divi. Divi is a powerful theme builder. The advantage with Divi is that it has a library of customizable elements for us to use. It's also widely used in the industry, so we don't have to worry about support being dropped. And also, WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, which is sort of like those Squarespace ads you see where you can drag and drop elements. It also takes less time to create the same amount of work as the other third-party themes that we looked at. So now, enough talk, let's demo. I'm going to pass it on to Ben to show what we got.
Thank you. So as you can see here on the left side, we have a screenshot of the website that we've put together. And on the right side, we have a screenshot of the wireframe that our client Nisa has provided for us. And as you can see, there are similarities. We did have to make some design decisions over time with Nisa's permission to try and get it as close as possible while still staying within the limits of Divi. This is another section of the page, and you can kind of see the same thing. We got it as close as possible, but yeah. On this last screenshot, you can kind of see our footer here and how, well, more of the same. We got it as close as possible. You can see the design decisions, how the sections are lined up and everything like that. But I believe we got it as close as possible, and our client is satisfied with it. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
All right, thanks so much, team. I'll raise a question first. So you mentioned WordPress being kind of your decision here. What did you like about WordPress and what did you find challenging about working with WordPress?
Personally, I really like WordPress as being a very visual website builder. When you're not using something like WordPress or Squarespace, a lot of your time is going to be looking at code, HTML, CSS, and then you kind of just pop a window open and hope it looks right. With WordPress and with the Divi theme builder that we were using, you're working on the page itself. You are looking at what you are building, and I think that is very helpful in building a website.
Yeah, and kind of on top of that, a lot of the changes that you are trying to make, a lot of like style changes you're trying to make, it shows you these type of things like in real time. So it's a lot easier to like work in the moment rather than like refreshing the page every time you make a change. So yeah, it's another really strong point about it.
Anything you didn't like about working with WordPress?
There were a few limitations. The way that WordPress, WordPress Divi is made is that it provides a lot of like base elements to work with. Although there are some limitations, or some limitations that are soft limitations that are implemented in order to help maintain responsiveness. So, like for example, like in a single row, like a box that goes across. There would be a limit of 6 columns you could put things into, and that's because WordPress, it's designed to help, if the viewport, like if you're viewing it on desktop or mobile or a phone, it automatically, like adjusts like how the elements are sized and like how they're stacked up on top of each other. If it goes to different viewports and like views, screen sizes essentially. So it really helps with it displaying correctly, displaying correctly for those devices.
Got it.
And I'll add on to that a little bit. We mentioned that WordPress, as well as Divi more so, is a WYSIWYG editor, or WYSYG, whatever it goes. And what you see is what you get works both in our favor and a bit against our favor, because what you see is what you get when you're editing is great because you're looking right at what you're editing, but also when you look at the editor itself, what you see is what you get. So any little minor tweaks are still going to be done with a bit of custom code here and there.
I have a question. So, you said the site had 700 pages of content, 3,000 images. That's a large site, very large site. So at any point in the project, did you get a sense as to how much this would have cost if someone went out to a commercial, a web development agency to do this same project?
I believe the quote that we were given was $75,000 up front.
Just to start.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
I believe that number speaks for itself.
Yeah. Any other questions from here in the room? Or from over on YouTube, if we have anybody that's piping in from there. All right, team. Again, thanks so much for your work. And again, congratulations. Each project is super unique. And again, seeing pixel perfect design and all the requirements that were part of what you took on, it's pretty amazing to see how you cleared so many hurdles and once again, finished at the finish line. So congratulations and great work on this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I want to just take a quick second and thank those that have joined in over on YouTube as well. If you'd like to share out that link, you can actually pull up on YouTube and type in Green River Software Development, and you can take a look at that live feed if anybody wants to share that out to any friends and family or other folks. This video will also be stored over there after the fact as well. So right after this wraps up, you'll be able to review the entirety of the video all in one shot as well. All right, so we're going to keep going along our presentation order. So next up, we have the team Dab. So Dab, when you are all ready, take it away.
Hello, everyone. We are Team Dab, which consists of myself, Patrick, as the product owner, Paul, our software developer,
Hello.
and Zara, our scrub master. So for today's presentation, we'll be talking about Real Thought Clothing. So what is Real Thought Clothing? Real Thought Clothing is an independently owned startup created by Robert Lee Gaines that offers primarily t-shirts and hoodies, and that allows individuals to wear what they want to say on their chest, literally. You can see here a couple examples of his t-shirt designs, humble by choice, and one of my favorites, your likes don't match the real you. Next slide. So this is our client, Robert. Robert is a very creative and eager individual who has a lot of great ideas and concepts regarding fashion, but just couldn't find a way to bring his product to market. So that's where we stepped in and helped him establish more of an online presence. So our solution to this was to develop a website that allowed his customers to purchase his products using a typical online shopping experience. So up next, we will demo what we've created. So here's the homepage of Real Thought Clothing. We incorporated a banner showing some of his products. Also included is Robert's mission statement, explaining a little more about who he is and his backstory behind his brand. And below are additional imageries of his products. And in the footer shares his contact info and his social media links. Next, I'll pass it off to Paul to walk you through the shop.
Hello. This is our shop page. It features Robert's products that are currently up for purchase. We've integrated some user-friendly shopping features such as this little quick view option right here. It allows you to add items to the cart and you can pretty much purchase without even leaving the page. We've also implemented this filter up here that allows you to sort by color. So if I click on this black tees, it'll just show you the black tees. This allows Robert to have a proper shop page rather than having to rely solely on social media to make sales. And he can add and remove items as he pleases. Now I'll pass it on to Patrick to close it out.
Thank you, Paul. So when you talk about establishing a clothing brand, you want to be able to have a canvas to show your designs. So the last feature we want to share with you is this gallery page. So this page is where Robert can share and upload more of his designs, his latest costumes, and his upcoming products. So that essentially wraps up Real Thought Clothing. But before we go, we just want to share with you that during the last 6 months of our project, we got to work closely with Robert. And Robert's a genuinely sweet guy, and the team and I were fortunate enough to get to know him better. When we handed off the project, he had nothing but great things to say, which is always nice to hear. And thank you all for listening, and we welcome any questions or feedback.
Thanks so much, team. Again, I'll open it up to the room. Does anybody have any questions for this team?
I have a cool question. If someone, how are you guys handling the payment? Is it through Squarespace system, or you guys collecting the credit card information, or how does it work? If someone was to purchase one of the shirts.
It's primarily going to be through Squarespace. That's for right now.
Okay, thank you.
I'll raise a question. In working with the client, I know you mentioned Robert was kind and easy to work with. Did you encounter any challenges throughout this project, trying to move what was kind of a social media based organization to then moving into a website? Was there any difficulty throughout that process of either building or kind of helping that client get started and actually able to use what you created?
I'd say the only difficulty we'd had was like how far we want to go into the whole Squarespace thing, because they also have this development mode, which is a lot more like an actual coding like an actual coding backend site, where like the whole going into HTML and that sort of thing. We ultimately decided to just do the basic, a lot more to some of the more basic Squarespace features.
And another challenge also was obviously the product imagery. When you're talking about building an online fashion store, you're going to need a lot of products, a lot of images to make the website feel complete. So that was definitely one of the challenges we also faced.
My question is, towards the end of the project, I remember you saying that the client, they basically said that the project was at a point like far enough that they were good with the project, with the state of the project, and they were ready to basically just take it off your hands. What was the point at which they said like, yeah, that enough work has been done on this, I'm ready to take it now?
It was pretty much midway through this quarter we sent off the project to Robert. He was very positive about. He gave us very positive reception on how we on our final product for the site.
Yeah, all good things, all good messages that he relayed to us, and he even offered to send some of his articles of clothing through us through the U.S. Post Office. And I told him I was going to be down in Miami in a couple of months, so I don't know, maybe I'll stop by and see him.
Yeah, that's very cool and such an awesome story. And yeah, you mentioned kind of wrapping up work with this project, and also worth mentioning, this team also made contributions to another project as well. So again, kudos to a lot of hard work that was made to work with one client and accomplish another one and actually get started with another one as well. So once again, team, we've said this before, but amazing work, great job. It's been fun to kind of see your progress and the work that you've put in and all that you've been able to complete with this work. All right. So let's see, up next, we have our virtual velocity team. So virtual velocity team, when you are ready, the screen is yours.
Have you heard of Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, or NFTs, but not quite sure how it works? Good evening. This is the team Virtual Velocity showcasing our project Art by TJ, aiming at bringing the traditional method of selling art into the digital age. A little bit about us. We are a 3-person team consisting of Ruslan, Sean, and myself, Tiffany. We'd like to express our gratitude to Tina Ostrander for the opportunity to work on these cutting-edge technologies. Next is Ruslan with the general overview.
Our client is a local artist, Tina Ostrander, with the need for a shop page on her pre-existing Squarespace website, where she could store and sell the artworks that she has. So the first part of our project was building an e-commerce webpage with all works loaded. Another aspect of this project was research. Our client wanted to start creating NFTs. The goal was to understand as much as possible about that process and get our client familiar with that. And the last part was building a web application that will run on a blockchain. For the first quarter, our main goal was Squarespace up and running. While working on that, we also did research on blockchain technologies, NFTs, and generative arts. The second quarter, our focus was on creating NFTs and blockchain web application, which can solve a problem for artists with price recommendations. Moving towards Squarespace. Squarespace is the content management system, and it was used to set up a shop page. We provide a few pictures on high-level design. This is what it looks like from the developer perspective. Technologies we use to do some manual design were CSS and JavaScript. And on the next slide, this is how the shop page appears to a customer. Next, Tiffany will walk you through NFTs and generative arts.
This project had a unique task of researching NFTs. NFT stands for non-fungible token, meaning a digital item that is unique and a part of a blockchain. A blockchain stores data in chunks or blocks that are strung together. When it comes to digital art as an NFT, the image can always be tracked back to the artist who first put it on the blockchain. NFTs can come in forms of video games, songs, and much more. The website OpenSea is a popular NFT marketplace. Here we host 3 collections, one of the client's artwork, another using an image layering method, and the last is a collection of visual data. Upon researching the most popular NFTs, the common theme of these collections was the usage of a program to layer photographs together. The rarity of characteristics creates a collectability to the images. Using this method, we created images of planets where interchangeable parts were added, like the texture of the planet and the atmospheric hue, to create a slew of unique combinations. The last collection uses the P5 JavaScript library and temperature data from the NOAA API to create an image to visualize the data. In a traditional temperature blanket, each stitch is a color based on the temperature for the day. And by the end of the year, you'll have a blanket showcasing a year's worth of temperature values for where you live. To talk about our app using blockchain technology, here's Sean.
The final part of our project was making our Web3 application, that is, an application that runs on the blockchain. Our client also wanted an example of blockchain technology being used in the web as a web application. In our talks, we determined that an interesting avenue was to create a Canvas pricing calculator that uses code hosted on the blockchain to run our calculations. When creating our calculator, we used Solidity to write the code and then Truffle to compile and export our code to the Ethereum blockchain. Then we used Web3.js to communicate with that code. For the front end of the website, we chose Next.js and React. With Vercel, our hosting solution, we had easy setup and deployment from GitHub. For the application itself, you use MetaMask, a browser-based cryptocurrency wallet, to connect to the website, which is a lot like logging in. This allows you to enter values into a form and submit them to the calculator. After entering height and width of the canvas that you are using, you can then use the third field to enter how much per square inch you want to use, with example prices listed on the right. The calculator will then display the result to you on the page. If you reload the website, it will automatically reconnect you. What we see as part of the future for blockchain going forward is blockchains or permissions-based blockchains used by corporations or groups to track inventories or used as ticketing systems. The technology is in its infancy, and there's a lot of potential growth for the future. Here are our URLs for our client's Squarespace store, NFT collections, and the Web3 application so that you can view them for yourself. Thank you for your time, and let us know if you have any questions.
Thanks, team. I'd like to raise a question off the top. So with some of the projects we've seen so far, they're developing a website or an application or something like that. You were jumping into the world of, as you've said a couple times, NFT, blockchain, items like that, that I'm assuming were pretty new. What was your first step to get started and to actually learn how to do even step one of some of those projects which were probably brand new to all team members?
So our first step in getting into that world was trying to find resources to learn it in the first place. We quickly found out that because the technology is so new and popular at the moment, that it's evolving rapidly. And so even resources and tutorials from a year ago, they were already out of date. And that was our first major task, was tracking down those resources that would give us the proper footing to get started.
A comment from YouTube here. What a cool intersection of art and technology. So
yeah, can you as a team talk a little bit about, you're working with somebody who is an artist and is interested in this technology. How did that connection come about, and what do you think of the future of your client potentially using NFTs? Is that something that you think would be feasible to include their art in some type of an NFT or creating something like that?
Yes. So what's nice about OpenSea is there is an option for people who aren't developers, aren't coders, to create NFTs fairly easily and quickly.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. This is such a new space for. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Such a new space, and there's so much to learn with all of these technologies kind of coming together all at once. Any questions from the room in here?
My question is about the calculator. Is that calculator looking at mint prices or NFTs or Something more specific.
So
Not sure if you-
the calc-
go ahead.
yeah, the calculator just functions by entering your height, width of the canvas that you want to use, and then we provide a pricing guideline on the side based on whether you think you're a beginner or you're an intermediate artist, and then maybe the complexity of what you're trying to do. All it does is communicate to the code that's hosted on the blockchain, and that returns our result to us.
Can I say thank you to this awesome team? They've been amazing and super responsive and communicative. We've met every 2 weeks for the last 6 months, almost without exception. And I'm just really excited about all that I've learned from them. And I can't wait to see where this goes, both as an artist and as an instructor. I look forward to incorporating some of this into my classes. And so I'm really thankful for the work that Sean and Tiffany and Ruslan have done.
One more YouTube comment out here, Brave New World. And I think that captures it well.
All right, and with that, we're going to move to our next team here. So Dirty Rotten team, when you're ready, the screen is yours.
All right. Okay. Peter, you got the speaker notes on the screen.
What's up? Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. All right. Hello, this is me, Jake Antonio, and Peter Yang of Dirty Rotten presenting our project Visually Daunting. This is our team, mainly consisting of Peter, Joe, and Jake, me. Well, while we all developed the project, Joe was mainly focused on asset creation, with Peter and I prototyping and developing the game and website, respectively. Also, a brief shout out to all those who contributed or volunteered with us on this project. As you can see, it's a very big group to work on such a small game in their free time. We thank you very much for volunteering. Now I'm gonna pass it on to Peter.
All right, thank you, Jake. So for our client, for the project, we had Cosmic Void, who is an indie developer that has 3 years of experience in developing retro-looking adventure games, and they have been mentoring us throughout the project on creating the game, helping us on progression, while they were also working on their own game, being Blood Nova. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Jake.
All right. Okay, now time to talk about our game. Our client gave us freedom in creating our game. It's a visual novel, which is in the interactive fiction genre. Whereas the story goes on, the reader is able to make choices to decide which direction the story will go. This is developed to be a very short horror game containing 3 endings, following a couple streamers and their search for a certain plan. And as streamers tend to have, they have a chat where in this game, you, the player, can select choices to influence the streamer's actions, which in turn allows chat in the game to react to the streamers. Our game is built upon RenPy, an open source engine focused on developing visual narratives using Python as its base. This engine we found is heavily reliant on asset creation. And that was fine by us because it allowed us to include features in the game, such as a custom story, UI, and images. It also allowed us to include voice actors, music, sound effects, providing another layer of atmosphere into the game, which will be present in our demonstration later on. Now back to Peter.
All right, thank you. So I'll be going over the challenges that we had faced for our team, as there were many challenges throughout our venture into creating Visually Daunting. And we had to spread the work along the whole team following team member departures and fellow team members also being sick. To overcome this, we had to apply agile techniques such as daily stand-ups and review over past sprints that we've had, and to focus on high priority features. Those that worked on the website and asset creation would shift to focusing more on the game development.
And as we look over, we can see that we had a style swap for our art style. As in the early stages of the game, on the left side, you can see that the art was a lot more detailed, but due to time constraints, we had to switch over to something that was more simple to make while still being appealing, which is what we have on the right, which is like a neon style. And then onto our next slide, we had to deal with scaling down our content from the initial vision, which is a tough thing to do. But initially the game was going to consist of multiple acts to be finished, but scaling down gave us time to fully finish out the first act of the game. And being able to see a fully functional game has never felt so good. And with that, we have the video
we just launched
demonstration.
the game through an executable build using RenPy. As we boot up, we're presented with some screens containing the logo and a content warning message, and then presented into the main menu. We hear some voice acting used, and when a player cursors over any menu objects, the color of that object is changed, signifying a focus change. And in the top right corner, we have some gallery options. Here's a music library that can be listened to while progressing through the game, unlocking new sounds. And let's go ahead and jump to starting a new game. As we start, the player is introduced to their personal laptop and gets a message notification that is currently the only clickable thing to progress. The scene transitions to their message application, and here we can see the first bit of branching choices. Let's go ahead and make that gaming choice for now, and let's jump to a live stream scene. Here, click the button, and it'll leave us with a message with progression tutorial. And since we're here, let's show off the save features for the game before jumping to another scene. And then we're notified on the save. In this main scene, we're introduced to our main characters, Ethan and Donovan.
Hello.
On their live stream journey, you can get to decide what actions they can take next through the chat box options. As we jump scenes here, we'll make the choice of viewing a billboard instead of skipping out on it. A little transition is done here, zoning in on the billboard, and the story branches off into more dialogue. But for now, let's progress through the story. We're introduced to some more characters here, and they hear a noise off in the distance, wondering what could it be. And as they make that look, the chat is also going crazy about this as well.
All right, with that, that concludes the video demonstration, and I'll hand it back to Jake.
Now we're gonna talk about our future plans and what we've learned from this whole project. While we close the project, our team will be venturing into other opportunities into the field. As such, we'll be transferring ownership of this project to Joe. And for what we learned from this project, you may remember that many people in our project worked on this project. Our main developer team worked with many people outside of our student circle and field. We worked with our client, family members, friends, and the community at large to help us when we ask about coding help, app creation, or even general advice when things got rough for us. This project started with passion and enthusiasm to get something that can be demoed. It was not an easy task to create a game from scratch, and some of us found out the hard way through all the challenges we sustained. But the creation of this project and what we've done is a testament to our first full attempt to make a game. Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you everyone, and thank you to Ken and Tyler for setting up the class. And we're all now open to any questions and comments. And also we have our socials down below for our website and our Twitter.
All right. Again, thanks so much, team. I saw both Susan and Tina, other instructors here at Green River, were active in the chat. Susan or Tina, do either of you have a question for the team?
I just missed who the client was for this. I apologize, but could you recap who your client was?
Yeah, sure. So our client is another indie developer named Cosmic Void, and they've been developing games for about 3 years for retro style looking games.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Do they sell those games on like Steam or?
Yeah, for Cosmic Void's games, like he's had I think 2 other before games that are up on Steam right now. And if you search up Cosmic Void on like itch.io, the website where indie developers host their video games as well. You'll see his content as well there.
Oh, wow. Okay. How many graphic pieces were created by your team? Like what
Do you want
weren't
to take
there?
over, Jake?
Yep, several hundred actually.
Wow.
Yeah, because all of us actually worked on the asset creation at one point. So there are several hundred in there, even in the small. This game's pretty small, so there's several.
And did you say what software did you use to create the assets? Did you mention that, or did I?
We didn't mention actually. When we created images and the chats and all that stuff, we used Adobe Illustrator.
Yes.
Oh wow,
Mhm.
That's a tough package.
It is.
I thought.
We made it work.
We made it work.
All right. We have Adam from YouTube says I'd buy that for $1. And Bring Back Tron asks, when do you think a final version, maybe an alpha, will officially ship?
We are actually transferring ownership of this game to someone else. So the launch date is actually to be decided by them rather than us at this point.
Yeah, if you have more questions on that, go ahead and forward it directly to the Twitter for the company itself. Not the company, but for Dirty Rotten.
Yeah, I know along with, in conjunction with developing the game, the team also put some time into actually developing their website as well. So I'll nudge folks who are interested in this game, if that maybe caught your attention. Yeah, definitely check out the website that's listed on this slide here. It's a cool opportunity, and I think there's certainly a future in this game as it kind of gets a little more content wrapped in, and that official launch is put out there. Again, very cool team. I think we really appreciate the amount of work that goes in, and thanks for sharing your challenges as well of having to kind of scale down in order to make sure that you're, as you're crossing the finish line, that I think you did a great job of wrapping things up and finding a way to get one scene up and going and working the way you had kind of set out to do. So amazing work there.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, our next team up will be Team Hapto. And Hapto, as was explained to me, Hapto means happy to code. So a shorthand version of that. So Hapto team, when you're ready, please take it away.
Good evening, everyone. We are Team Hapto, and my name is Dan, along with my partner, Jessica. For our project, we're given an amazing opportunity to create something unique. We were given the opportunity to create an algorithm for the traction circle using iOS sensor data for the racing app Swoon. Swoon is an iOS app currently available on iOS App Store, which allows anyone to race with any vehicle, giving the user the freedom to run with modification on their car, while also making it easy to race without having to figure out many rules and regulations. Swoon also allows its users to view and compare their racing data, allow them to become better and faster racer. One of Swoon's coolest features is that it's free, and when you compare to the Apex Pro, which is $589, you are getting a great deal. This is the reason for our feature, the traction circle. The traction circle are used to help measure the traction that the tire have with the G-force being applied to the car. G-force on the car happen when you accelerating, braking, or cornering the car. The red data represent a car moving slow. In other words, is not where the driver should be, not where the driver should be. Next is the orange color, which is the average, what they can do better. Green data is where the driver want to be, where they can reach max G-force, for that they can attain before losing control. And here Jessica will talk about our journey.
Hi. When we began our journey, we started to work with iOS, Swift, and Xcode because that's what the app was written in. And as we were delving into the app itself, we were learning about that as well. But when we talked to the developer actually had us go a different path. He wanted us to code it in Python, and so we used PyCharm. because he wasn't sure that it was actually something that could actually be created. Before we actually created our algorithm, we had to go over a lot of math and kind of work through it to kind of figure out our original algorithm. And when we created our original algorithm, we thought it looked pretty okay. We talked to the client and he said that it looked about right to what he was thinking. And so we were like going forward with that. And then we got a data dump and our algorithm broke. So at that point, we were up on two options because when we were looking at the data, we saw that the data looked like it was had been rotated in 3D. So our two options that we thought were, one was to completely look for a different way to create this algorithm. And then one was to rotate the data in 3D, find out how it was being rotated and then rotate it back. So we were kind of going with the first option and looking into like creating a new algorithm, as the other one didn't really seem feasible to us. And luckily when the next quarter started, we were gifted a team of juniors, as some of our classmates had to leave early for a better and brighter future. So we were gifted with them and they had learned all the stuff we had initially learned. We were teaching them as well as they were learning stuff on their own. And when they looked over our code, something that we hadn't looked over since the beginning of writing it, which was an initial vector, was a different value than what it should be. And when they had changed the value to what it should be, it cleaned up all of our code. Our data sets started looking not exactly like the parallel data sets, but within tolerance. And we were able to move forward. And we were able to create an ellipses and the coloration that the client wanted, and able to give them a functioning traction circle. I would like to thank our team, our junior team, Colton, Jasper, Pat, Lyra, and Regina. They have been amazing. Obviously, they kind of got us over a big hurdle with a small amount of code, 3 lines to be exact. And they're just really amazing to work with, all really impressive. And our old team, Niman and Husrath, we know you had to leave early, but your contributions were invaluable. Thank you. And we'd also like to thank Kevin and Nathaniel from Mentors in Tech. Without them, our project wouldn't be here. And Eric from Swoon. And thank you all for watching our presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Team, thanks a lot. I saw in your slides, you had kind of a side-by-side of kind of a $589 kind of code example, and then yours available for free. Can you talk a little bit about that, that other data set that you were kind of working against or trying to find a way to replace?
Yeah, so the other data set that we were working with was from the Apex Pro, which is a device that you mount on your car. It costs $589 to work with. That's why Swoon app is more accessible to like everyone, so everyone can race. And that's why they were wanting us to work with iOS sensor data, so that way anybody with the iPhone could get their traction circles, so that way they can keep getting better and better at racing. And yeah, our client had to do a side-by-side. He had to have 2 phones, sometimes 3, I think sometimes 4 even in his car at one time, tracking this data for us, so that way we could compare it properly. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, George out on YouTube, just download the app. Really cool concept. And another comment from YouTube: neat cross-cohort collaboration. Great job.
Yeah, a quick question for me as well, and I'll open it up to the room here in just a moment. Can you speak a little bit to the level of math that was involved with this? I know you mentioned of like rotating some items around in three-dimensional space and writing algorithms and things like that. It's a bit different than some of the other projects we've seen so far. What was it like to tackle that level of math involved in kind of solving this problem?
So it was really complicated for me. I haven't been in math since like high school. So basically me and Ton would stay up, we would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work together to kind of create this. And Ton has been through all of the calculuses, so he knows. He says this is calculus 3, just so if anyone knows, wants to know. We kind of just worked together, and he kind of worked me through all of like how everything was working, and it was kind of awesome.
So the math involved either calculus 3 and it most likely the dot product and cross product along with the physics engineering of the vector. So we can you do cross product of 3-dimensional to figure out where the data set should be.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I'm sure there's so many levels to this, and I'm sure your team has gotten pretty far into so much of the math involved. I'm seeing some questions come through the chat here in our Zoom. Were you able or tempted to test this app with any of your own cars? Yeah, has anybody from your team, or do you know of any other folks other than your client that has actually used the app?
Yeah, so I am unable to because I'm one of those unfortunate people that don't have an iPhone. Yeah, our team actually was looking into that just to kind of get our own data. It felt like kind of really bad to like just tell the client to like get us all this data, because it was so hard. You had to go out and like, race around and do whatever we asked him to do. With like sometimes 2 or 3 sets of phones. But we did, I think we did download it on our, on the people who had Apple phones did download it. Sorry.
I believe Hirschrat, one of the period member, he was tempted to really eager to use the app out to test it, but there wasn't enough. He wasn't able to export the data out.
Well, I'll just maybe make a safety note here. If anybody does download the app to use it, please be responsible. Wear your seatbelt and do not race on the road. Go to a track somewhere.
All right. So again, thanks team and congratulations. I think it's pretty clear with your project. Yeah, the really kind of high hurdles of advanced math, and sometimes maybe the help that even a fresh set of eyes looking at code can kind of bring to a project too. So great job working with not only some auto racers, but some junior staff as well as you took that on. All right. So our next presenter coming up here is the Cool Ducks team. So we're going to give them a moment to set up in our room here. But when they are set up, we will let them take it away. And just to update those in the audience, again, thanks for joining us. If you do want to review anything here, this will be posted out on YouTube. So you can look up Green River Software Development and check out that live stream. And again, we appreciate your participation, for joining us tonight and helping encourage these students as they're kind of wrapping up their projects. And there's one last item I wanted to mention, but with that, I'll just hand it over to the team for now. So team, take it away.
Hello, we are Team Cool Ducks. And the team consists of myself, Jada, David, Yuri, Dylan, and James. And we're excited to present the table management software for Cheaper Eats. As pictured, restaurants usually have like a paper layout at the front of the restaurant, but we have developed a software system to help the restaurant owners move away from using the paper or laminated layouts, which can wear out over time. And with the application, it will be easier for restaurant owners and employees to manage or modify the table layout rather than using paper. And they can see it from a single dashboard or a screen instead. And the application is accessible from anywhere in the restaurant, and its efficient design allows for busboys or waiters to mark the tables as clean without the hostess constantly going back and forth to check and remember. And Ralph is our client and mentor and the co-founder of Cheaper Eats and the lead developer who's been working with us and helping with us. And we'd like to thank him for his time and opportunity to work on this project. And next, I'll pass it to Yuri, who will talk about component-driven design and components we've worked on.
Yeah, thank you, Jada. So to start with, we follow these principles of component-driven design, which means that complicated and large you are breaking up into a simple, self-contained and reusable components, which will eventually build the whole application. So with inherited code that we had, there was missing a lot of vital components that we need to build the whole application. So one of our jobs was to fill the actual code, the actual project with the new components. And here you can see some components that we selected, we created from scratch from the beginning. So in addition to already existing circle table and square table that were in project, and you will see it in further slides, we create table with new shape. It is all table. It will provide for users more tables, more greater variety of tables to choose from. Also, we created carousel, which is used to display different table layouts. If the restaurant has more than one room and one table layouts, and it is very easy to do by just swiping left or right, which you can see actually on animation. Another component that we build is theme switch. It is support the multiple preset themes, and so user can just switch between the themes and choose the color palette the most comfortable to work with. On the top right, you can see reservation details. It is the simple component, and it provides the opportunity to display a lot of details in a very comfortable way. And finally, we build the party size selector. So that component is used to select the number of parties, number of people who will be sitting on the table with very cool and interactive way. And right now I'll pass to David. Go ahead.
Another portion of our project that was very important was improving components and the user experience overall. A lot of components that we saw starting out of the project were pretty basic, like the tables. We added a lot more functionality to them, including like the modals, for example, here. In this modal, we can select the order of the chairs at the table, and we can also change the status of the table according to what we need. Our next component was the chair. It's also part of the table, so here we're just able to modify the person's name, and if we need, we can add more info to this. Another very important component was the reservation calendar, which is showing different prices for reservations at a specific restaurant, for example. Here you can see 3 different colors of yellow, green, and red, which signify the average price, for example, what's a surge price, and what's a good price for different days of the week. I'd like to pass on to Dylan to talk a little more about the animations.
So another thing we worked on with modifying the existing components was we used a library called Framer Motion and began adding a lot of animations onto some of the key existing components. So for example, one of the animations we added is the chair animations. So a lot of times what you'll have, since the restaurant owners can modify the layout, they can like add chairs to a new table. They might not know which table they actually added the chair onto if it just suddenly appeared and they weren't paying attention. So we use an animation that appears when chairs are added or removed to help allow for a visual connection to their change, so it's easier for them to recognize what actually occurred. The same also happens with tables, where they have the ability to add as many tables as they want to the restaurant, but sometimes they may not notice that they pop up, especially if it appears right on top of another table. So we use an animation to show popping in to help provide another visual connection to the action that they performed. And now James is going to talk about how this all tied together.
So as we previously mentioned, we use component-driven design for our table management system. And for all all of the components that they showed before, it all leads up to our final step in component-driven design, which is layouts. And we're able to take those components and place them on the layout however a restaurant may need to use them. So every restaurant is going to be unique in their layout, and they're going to need to be able to customize it to their layout. And we would also like to, again, thank our client and mentor, Ralph Hamori, for his guidance and support. And thank you for taking the time to listen to us. And with that, we would like to answer any questions you may have.
All right, team. Thanks a lot for presenting that there. All right, so question from Tina in the Zoom room there. Is it ready to go live? And if not, what do you think is next? So what do you see as the future of the project?
The only thing missing for going live is that it has to be tied to a Next.js application. So our client has to do, and he was going to do this himself, is take our page templates, add it to a Next.js application, and then apply state to bring in all the data, which would then populate it, and then it can go live.
Cool. Ken?
Yeah, just a comment, YouTube. Love the GIFs in the presentation. They're great at portraying the features.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I've seen different phases of kind of these pieces come together, kind of the component-driven design. Can you talk a little bit more about what it's been like to work with these components? I know you had a little bit of prior experience before you took this on the Capstone project. How do you describe the process of making a component versus making some of the other things that are part of this project?
A lot of times with the components, you are building from the bare minimum of just a raw HTML structure. So typically you have a bunch of your divs and text and spans and paragraphs and stuff. You start putting these together to form a little small section of your UI. And then the next part is you might build something more complex. Let's say you're building like a list of a bunch of items or a form or something. You'll take a bunch of these small little pieces you built and you'll build it into a larger component. And this larger component might even build into another larger component until eventually it starts to form a giant section of your UI. And once you have that giant section, you would then take your template, which has a bunch of spots where it says, okay, put a component on the here for the header, component here for the footer, component for the body left, component for the body right. And you would just take this footer and just paste it into the footer spot on the template.
Yeah, it's a very interesting way to kind of decompose the problem here. It's been cool to see that the components kind of be built one by one throughout the lifespan of this project here. Yeah, Ken, any other questions or comments?
That's it from YouTube, but maybe one from my end comment. You know, this is a project that started last year with a different team, and I think 2 different teams worked on it before yours as well. So I think it's really cool, and maybe I'll throw a thank you for all the teams that have kind of contributed to this product. It's amazing to see how far it's come since the original the original sketch, really.
Right. Yeah. From just starting to draw circles to actually like functioning tables, and yeah, how those things have come together. Very cool. All right. So thanks, team. I appreciate your hard work. We're going to welcome up one last presenter here. So as we're getting our last presenter for the night here, just wanted to give a quick shout out and thanks to, you all in the audience, but also to highlight, we do have a number of folks who are already working in industry who have been part of our Capstone class as well as some who have taken on independent projects. So to wrap up for today, we actually have one of those independent projects is going to be presenting. So here in a moment, when we're ready, share sound. So when we're ready here in just one moment, we will hand this over to Hunter. Unmute. To Hunter. Unmute.
All right. Hello, my name is Hunter Alquist, and I created a game codenamed Dreamwalker in the Unity engine.
To Hunter.
Dreamwalker originally started as a personal project, but I had the opportunity to bring it into the Capstone. My name is Hunter Alquist, and I created a game codenamed Dreamwalker. Dreamwalker is a first-person action game. Dreamwalker originally started as a personal project, but I had the opportunity to bring it into the Capstone. My name is Hunter Alquist, instead of talking about the game, I suppose it's better Dreamwalker. Dreamwalker is a first-person action game. Dreamwalker originally started as a personal project, but I had the opportunity to bring it. Hello, my name is Hunter. But instead of talking about the game, I suppose it's better Dreamwalker. Dreamwalker is a first-person action game. Dreamwalker originally started as a personal project, but I had the opportunity to bring it. Hello, my name is Hunter. But instead of talking about the game, I suppose it's better Dreamwalker. Dreamwalker is a first-person action game. Dreamwalker originally started as a personal project, but I had the opportunity to bring it. Hello, my name is Hunter. But instead of talking about the game, I suppose it's better Dreamwalker. Dreamwalker is a first-person action game. Dreamwalker originally started as a personal project, but I had the opportunity to bring it. Hello, my name is Hunter. But instead of talking about the game, I suppose it's better Dreamwalker. Dreamwalker is.
One second here, folks. We're gonna get our audio and video reset for this one.
Started as a personal project, but I had the opportunity to bring it. Hello, my name is Hunter. But instead of talking about the game, I suppose it's better Dreamwalker. Dreamwalker is.
All right, folks, sorry about that. We had an internal hiccup here with trying to get the YouTube stream going along with that video stream, but I think we have that straightened out now. So with that, we'll resume the demo for Project Dreamwalker. Sorry about that, Hunter. Now you can take it away.
All right, thank you.
Space doesn't work on that player.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, there you go. It is working on YouTube stream. What client out there on YouTube? Yeah, it's a step by.
All right, I hope you enjoyed the video despite the hiccups. As you can see, the game will be released to Steam via early access. The name is still to be decided. Dreamwalker is just a code name. But if you want to find the proper name, you can follow me on Twitter for updates or join the Discord for conversation and downloading alpha builds. Also, I want to say I'm open up for collaboration for a share of the revenue when the game is uploaded to early access on Steam. And to close out, I want to give a special thanks to my two clients, Eric Yeats and Jim Bracher, for helping with the project management. I butchered their names, but I'm sure they appreciate it. So does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Hunter, thanks a bunch. There might be something coming here through YouTube momentarily, but I have a couple that came through in the Zoom chat. What resources did you use to take on the process of learning Unity?
So Unity is very famous for its like wide learning community. So I've used a lot of forums, a lot of YouTube videos. One in particular, I recommend Bracky's, although he's I believe he is retired now, but very good resource there. But I started out with a tutor actually, some online friends who knew Unity and were making games before I even, started to code my first line in C#. And they were a great help and opened me up to this path. In fact, I probably wouldn't be in this program if it wasn't for them.
Awesome. Another question from the chat here. Is there any way to wish list the game?
It's not uploaded yet. I have to go through all like the Steam documentation, submitting and everything, and like tag stuff. So yeah, if you want to get updates on that, then you can follow the links and there will be updates for it. Yes.
So will it be easy enough to port it to Android, iOS, and are you planning on that in the future?
Yeah,
it's accessible on the phone too.
Yeah, it's using the Unity engine, which is a cross-platform engine. It is theoretically possible to build it on mobile devices. It's more geared towards PC though. Is a higher fidelity graphics. I suppose I could tone it down a little bit and port it over, but controls might be a bit of an issue, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, one highlight of the day so far, we before these presentations began, Hunter was actually handing the controller over to other students. We have a true working prototype, which is really cool to see of this game going. And I want to give a specific shout out to Hunter as well. We've seen some other teams take on games, some that have had to be scaled back quite a bit, but being able to work solo and deliver a working game is, we've said this a few times already for other teams, but a really remarkable feat there. Yeah, so a question from Tina. What was it like working solo?
It kind of felt like, coding in the dark, right? But once again, my two clients, they not only gave project management feedback, but they gave a lot of creative feedback as well. And I really appreciate that. And I constantly and often share screenshots and little bits about the game on social media, and I get responses from that too. So that's a big help in shaping the game.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I remember you mentioning that you would like to have people join to collaborate on the game and giving them sort of revenue share once the game is up in early access. How many team members would you ideally want, and also to kind of follow up on that, if you do get more team members, would you plan to scale up if things go well, or are you just have a set plan for how you plan for the game to function and sort of?
I think considering the scale of the game and it's not super focused on visuals, I think a team from maybe 2 to 5 people would be good enough. Yeah, and there was another part of the question, right?
Oh yeah, just like, would you plan on like scaling the game like up at all, like if things start to go well, or would you just take that time if the game is already finished, just go ahead and work on another project after this?
Well, with the beauty of early access, I can release the game in like sort of like iterations. And when it eventually gets to its full release, I can like between that, I can sort of like modulate the scale back, scale up if we have the time and resources.
That's great.
I know the game isn't fully finished yet, but is the story fully written? I'm not sure if it's still story-based. So you have the full script of the story.
Everything, the demo that you see is from the second area. And I have all the other areas written in like this large game design document. So yeah, it's ready to go. We just have to develop it.
Great. And that's reporting it from YouTube here. Question Man says, I'd love to play this game. What's your favorite thing about it?
I believe my favorite thing is the depth of simplicity, which I'm not sure if that's an actual thing that someone has coined before, but a lot of games, they have like all of these mechanics, and it's just like when you get into the game, it confuses you and you just sort of like drop it because it becomes too much. What I did with this game, I sort of limited the amount of different moving parts on the surface, and below those moving parts, I put in like, different connections, like different mechanics, and that creates depth in simplicity. Anybody else?
Yeah, and then Jim and Eric out in YouTube as well. Glad to help and great job. So thanks for
guys.
supporting.
Yeah. Again, want to thank Hunter specifically for this presentation. Working solo, definitely shouldering that amount of work is quite impressive that you were able to take that on. Glad to see that you found some kind of mentors, folks to work with, and were able to see some success through this.
Very lucky.
Yeah. So with this, we're going to transition kind of out of our presentations. Again, thanks Hunter for kind of helping us wind down our presentation. For everybody, yeah. All right, folks. So at this moment, again, one giant thanks to all those folks that are out there watching on YouTube. Did want to mention we are going to wind down the YouTube stream, but we will stick around for a few minutes after in the Zoom session. So those of you who are joining us via Zoom, feel free to stick around for a few moments. We have a few things just as we have some graduating seniors here. We're going to recognize a few folks and go through a couple items here. So with that, we're going to wind down the YouTube stream, and we'll keep the Zoom up for a little bit. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for your questions and items like that. And we'll kind of go into the